What's up, guys? Will and Chris back with another Beluga podcast where we waste our lives on crypto Twitter and trading random tokens so that you guys don't have to. First up on our list today is just kind of a general market commentary because honestly, shit's been kind of weird with the ETF inflows and people dumping and everything. So let's just hop right into it with what Bitcoin has been up to. Today has on the day of recording at least has not been a great day for us. Uh, Bitcoin
Oh man.
kind of reaching down back towards the 50K line, which I'm not much of a TA guy myself, but I am a psychological guy, and I'd rather not lose the 50K line. What are you looking at here, Chris?
Man, yeah. I mean, it looks not great. Now, like I think some of it is just like it's been so aggressively up for the last couple of weeks that I think, there may be some just exhaustion and people taking profits. We're getting close to March, which is always a shit month for trading, right? We've got FMOC and we have and Nvidia earnings today. So I think a lot of people are expecting things to just be a little soft. We don't know where rate hikes are going to go. And so it's been so aggressively up. I think it's pretty natural that we're taking some profits and moving things off the table for a little bit and seeing where it goes. So I don't know. I'm of two minds. One is that we either yeah, again, like I think you're right. 50K. I have this line drawn here. Again, these are just lines on charts. They don't mean anything. But you know, I I always I go between we're going to just chop for a little bit because we're entering that time period, right? It's been a little bit too euphoric. I've been a little bit concerned about it. I just when everyone's so hyped and everyone's making money and a genius and the timeline is just insane, I'm always just a little bit wary of what's going on. It's been that way for a bit. And so I would personally like it if we reversed a bit, chopped, and just kind of like went into tax season and the halvening a little bit more risk off. So it gives me more time to accumulate and load up. But I mean, if you just look at the inflows have been really strong for from the ETF. And I think there's a chance in a shot that you say, look, we chopped for a little bit, or maybe this is even momentary, right? And then I think we'll see by this weekend, right? Like we'll kind of like this week, we'll kind of settle it out. And if we basically just start ripping up again and it's just bullish only, then we're just gonna go straight to all time highs. But I'm hoping that we kind of pause a little bit, chop. I'd love if we lose 50 to be honest and go down. Just to give me more time to buy more. But I it would obviously not be great. But because we had a really good weekly close, right?
Yep. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean it's interesting because we have obviously Bitcoin and ETH down today, and maybe the chart doesn't look great, but they're not actually down that much. Like Bitcoin is what 2.5%, ETH is 1% relative to
yep,
the pumps we've had. Like it's nothing. But what is interesting is if you guys look at the list under those on the right, all of the altcoins are down like at least 5, 6, 7% across the board.
crazy
And
and
yeah, I
more.
mean
And so, I we got a
we
lot of
haven't seen
tens even.
altcoin blood like that in a long time. So I think to
Probably the
me at
first one of this
least,
year, right? First one of the year where we're
yeah,
like
I
really
think
having a
first one of the
big red
year.
day across the board.
It's interesting to me because again, like the ETH Bitcoin movements weren't that large, and usually they lead the altcoin moves. So to me, it feels like either bear PTSD or the people on my crypto Twitter feed are just like way too over leveraged on their altcoins. Yeah, I mean Pendle's getting brutalized.
Pendle's getting smoked. Jeez,
But I mean, it's like this is obvious stuff, right? Like Pendle was going up because of the farming eigenlayer
Eigen
BS,
farm.
and
Yep.
Eigen hit its kind of peak euphoria, and now it comes back down. Like these are like normal movements, I think, for the most part. But it's interesting to me to see like everybody is freaking out right now, at least in my groups. Which it just feels odd for me for the move we had. Like I think of things in ETH these days, so 2%, 1% movement, who cares?
Totally. Meanwhile, BNB still chatting. 3% up. Let's go. But
I
but
mean,
yeah,
the
I agree
most
with you.
hated coin, BNB.
OP's down 10. Yeah, I mean, I personally love this kind of shit. I think it's good. Like when I see this, people get scared. I'm still just, I think, again, I'll go back to what you said a while ago, Will. If you zoom out enough, and we don't even need to zoom out that much, you know, I think it's basically just up only for a while. And if that's the case, we should relish days like this. I mean, it's good stuff. The more red it is, the better, because it just gives you more time to actually buy and get in positions. I think a lot of people are either like me, where you're positioned but not quite enough, and you was hoping to do a bit more, or you're just not positioned at all and you want to get in position. And so if that's the case, these are good days. So I'm bullish on this type of behavior for us, at least, even though it's a little bit bearish for the market. So I don't know. Again, it's not that serious overall. It's a little bit of red, but just looking at the weeklies and the dailies, I mean, this is just crazy stuff still. So yeah, I guess
Crazy.
we haven't seen like a bigger red day like this in a while. But even then, so what was that? 25th. So okay, about a month. That's kind of okay. Fair enough. It's been a little bit, um, but still, I think it's all good stuff. And ultimately, you know, we'll see where this holds. Right now we're still bouncing
Yeah.
around this area. And I don't know. Do you think we lose it, or do you think we're holding this 50K area?
I mean, we were talking before recording. I'm starting to buy ETH again this week. I don't know whether we hold, to be honest. I've said it before, I'm sure. I'm not a leverage trader because I'm not very good at it, but I'm much better at buying things and holding them for a while. So like to our earlier point, you just have to look at what your time horizon is. If it's like a month or two from now when you're trying to sell, maybe you wait for a little dip, see where things go. If you're looking 1, 2, 3, 5, 10 years out, like these are kind of just buying opportunities, in my opinion, at least.
Totally.
But yeah, I mean, altcoins are getting brutalized, but the one kind of class that's been sticking around, probably due to Sora hype and to all this open AI news that has been going around, is AI altcoins have been
Totally.
absolutely ripping. I know, I think you've been kind of paying more attention to the AI coin sector than I have, so maybe you want to give a
Yeah.
little primer.
Totally. I mean, the premise is this. I mean, everyone's been really hyped about AI for obvious reasons. And last week, OpenAI came out with Sora, this is an example of what it does, but similar to ChatGPT, where you type in a set of prompts. Basically, you give it, human English language, and it can return words to you. Sora allows you to type things in and generate these hyper realistic videos. And the quality of it's just been stunning, because we've seen a lot of the ones before. You've seen like the Will Smith ones where sort of face blends in with the background and stuff. Like, it's not very good. You can see this ant video. I mean, it's just insane. It's actually quite good, right? So there's little bugs and like little things here and there that don't like feel right. But I mean, just taking a look at this is a great comp right here. Like, this is stable diffusion, which was kind of one of the original ones at the bottom, and it looks good. But it clearly looks more AI generated and looks a little bit machine like. And there's some things that are kind of off about it. And you can kind of tell stable always has this like weird hue to it, so it doesn't totally look right. Whereas Sora, I mean, it looks very, very good. I think it's almost indistinguishable from just like a shot video. I mean, especially this Italian villa video that looks insane. So anyway, this is the thing that kind of broke the internet. Everyone went nuts over it, and as a result, people look for tokens to pump. And so, of course, the sort of classic retail AI narrative coins all started ripping. And so, one that's really been going nuts, and maybe we'll just go to this over the last few weeks, has been Tau. And Tau is BitTensor, and it's really just a ChatGPT but with a token. And outside of that, it's worse in every single way than ChatGPT. Like, I don't think it's usable at all. And I remember talking to an OpenAI engineer, and I showed him this, and he was just like, "I could have built this in like a weekend. It's absolute dog shit." But still, they put a token on it, and it's just been going absolutely insane for the last couple of weeks. I mean, basically, it's had a really good run in general. Starting from end of October at about $50, and then ripped up to 300-ish. We dumped, and then around about a month ago, at the low of 200, it just started going up again. And really, again, last week on Friday was maybe this right here. Yeah, we saw this pump right here from 500 up to 680-ish. So it's been going absolutely nuclear. It's been going really well for them. And the entire basket of AI coins. So take Fetch is another one. We really saw just like kind of in the
Crazy.
last couple days, just went from 50 cents, nearly doubled in just let's call it 2 weeks with just up only action. It's been nuts. And another one is that a lot of people love is one called Render, which is a distributed computing network. And so it's sort of like use a bunch of you can put your machine on a network to allow people to access your GPUs and train models, because GPUs are rare and they're harder to find. They're more expensive because there's so much demand for it. And so the whole idea for Render is if you sort of decentralize this and anybody can contribute to the network versus going to a centralized place, then you can have much more access. Plus, people can make money doing this. And so that's been the idea. It's sort of like a Uber for GPUs, if you will. And you get paid on render tokens. I honestly, I've always been wondering, like, how do people actually use this shit, and like, how many machines are on the network, or like, is anyone really training models here, or is it just a good story? And the truth is, like crypto class, like, I have no idea, but I do know that it's been ripping. And so since, again, about 2 weeks ago, the same thing, it's just been up only action, similar to Fetch, right? So these tokens, the last 2 weeks, really across this entire basket, have just been on an absolute tear upwards. And so
They
it's
all have
been
the
really
same
nice.
chart too, which is funny
Exactly.
to me.
It's just funny because it's classic. It's basically like, there's some AI news coming. What are the AI tokens to really buy? And of course, the most direct comp to that is WorldCoin. And so just looking at WorldCoin, which is zero relation to AI at all. The only relation is that Sam is loosely associated with both, right? Sam is considered the founder of OpenAI. Sam Altman, who was the former president of Y Combinator, he also is the founder of WorldCoin. I think he's actually CEO of OpenAI versus just the founder of WorldCoin and one of the people that backed it. And there's sort of two ends of the spectrum, right? His belief is that OpenAI will create AGI and sort of, in that, really eliminate a lot of jobs and take a lot of the work that humans are doing. And on the other end, WorldCoin is the ability to do a basic universal basic income, another three-letter acronym that Sam loves. So be able to give out tokens to people and sort of let people distribute the gains and the productivity gains of AI and just let people do stuff with it instead. And it's just funny because, again, there's like literally zero relation to from WorldCoin to OpenAI. But if you just look at the last couple weeks, so this same 2 week period, it's up 300% or 250%, just because of it's a Sam coin. And also, I remember during the
Well, we should
OpenAI
also
drama.
comment on the circulating supply to FTV.
Yeah,
FTV is an absolute meme with this token. I think it's
I actually
something
don't even
like
know what it
$80
is.
billion FTV,
Is it?
and it's only like 5% circulating supply. Let's see.
Oh my
Yeah,
god!
60 billion.
With 800 market cap. And so
I've never seen that before. Like,
I
that's
have not
crazy.
either. That is hilarious, dude. I didn't even know this. I mean, I knew it was bad, but this is not nearly what I thought it was. I mean, just so for the listeners, I mean, the market cap versus FDV is two things. Market cap is the amount of tokens in circulation right now, multiplied by the current price. And so if you look at the amount of tokens actually in the market right now times 6.27, you'll get 831. The fully diluted valuation is the entire supply of tokens over time. And usually you like to see these things a bit closer to 1 to 1 because that means that there's no like hidden sell pressure, right? Because usually when there's a lot of tokens locked up and they're not in the market yet, that means it's usually just investors who are holding, and the minute they get unlocked in huge chunks, it's enormous selling pressure, which just destroy the token price, right? And so you usually don't like to see this. And like you said, I tend to find that CT, and like my general rule of thumb is like, even a 10% float, which is like 10% of the supply actually liquid, is pretty not great. Or like it's just very
Yep.
thin. And usually I find that CT and the crypto folks just absolutely troll and destroy and just like rip the coins that are a 10% to 20% float even. you know um and this one being so far below 10%, right, is a little bit over 5%, is absolutely ridiculous, which is hilarious. So like looking at this is close to what you want to see, right? So take Injective as an example. Their market cap is about 3 billion, right, and the FDV is 3.3, right? So it's very close, which most of the tokens are unlocked. This is kind of what it should be from now on, and the actual price will reflect real sentiment versus having a lot of hidden unlocks and things that really come into play. And so just to see this is hilarious. But Sam knows how to pump things. At the end of the day, you gotta give him credit for that. But it is funny. I remember when the OpenAI stuff happened, when he was kicked out too, WorldCoin absolutely tanked, and people were shorting the hell out of it for the same reason. And so it is funny to see. But the AI narrative has been a very hot one. People are obviously sort of like hot to trot on it. I think people like it for obvious reasons. I think the open question, I'm curious, Will, your take on it. Like, the open question to me is like, is there a real use case, or is this just crypto glopping onto the latest narrative to try and make something? I can come up with theoretical use cases, and like, there's a
Yeah.
good narrative and a story that I could see. But what's your actual take on what's going on here with AI versus crypto?
Um, yeah, I mean, I think to your point on the theoretical side, I think there's a lot of obvious potential integrations and use cases between AI and crypto. Now, as is the crypto way, I think, well, that is the case, like almost including Tau, which is like the biggest AI coin, I think, right now, for not counting WorldCoin. But even Tau is like kind of a bunch of bullshit. And that's true across the board. I think stuff like actually kind of what Render's doing. I don't know their economic model enough to say whether it's like a good buy or not. I don't know any, but I think the idea of decentralized cloud computing actually makes a ton of sense. And clearly, like they haven't done it fully right yet, or it would be worth a lot more money. So whenever somebody gets that right, I think that's going to be huge. That's like the most kind of prevalent use case I see, but I don't
Totally.
think anybody's done it yet. And I have no sense if somebody's doing it soon either. I know I see a ton of protocols launching that are like, oh yeah, we're decentralized cloud computing. DPIN is like the big narrative recently, decentralized physical infrastructure.
Yep.
So people are definitely seeing that same opportunity. It's just like, as is the case so often with the narratives we get, like a lot of it's just vaporware, not as good as the alternatives you can find that already exist in the real world without a token.
Did you
So,
know this? Is this the? I'm like, is this the right fucking render? It is the right logo. I'm pretty sure.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
did you know that this is their team, or like listed under their team advisors page is Ari Emanuel for some reason, the
JJ
guy that
Abrams.
and JJ Abrams for some reason,
Well,
and one of
because
the
they're
people
just, I
artists.
think render is just for like graphics processing. It's not
Got
for
it.
like compute in general. Um,
Got it.
so it's cool for stuff like, you have a big, for example, it's probably why those film guys are on it. Like you have a big film project you need to work on, you can shop it out to these guys.
Right.
Um, which is cool. I mean, it's not like insane. I would think most professional studios like have teams that do that in house anyway. Um, but yeah, I like the
Totally.
idea of it's cool. Sure. I'm probably not going to buy any anytime soon.
Yeah, and also maybe to know that like I've been trading Tau for a while, and I've never actually figured out how to use Tau. I just fucking buy wrap Tau on ETH because it's so much easier. So, and I think all my friends that do this do the same thing. So, and there's like a fat liquidity pool here too, which is pretty funny. So it means a lot of people are
All
are
the
just not
traders are
actually
on
even
ETH.
exactly just trading on ETH. Forget actually getting ones over to the Tau network. So.
No, you wouldn't
Um,
want to use your utility tokens for anything. You just want to trade them.
exactly. Um, cool. So I mean, maybe just to switch over, right? So like, maybe we should talk about the thing of the week. So we've talked about the majors and some of the alt price action, the things that are interesting there. What we should get to is kind of the talk of the week, and it really came into light yesterday. A new token came out, or a new project came out called Ethena, and it sparked a bunch of discussion on in crypto Twitter, and as usual, a lot of polarizing opinions, both good and bad. And so, yeah, maybe Will, do you want to give a bit of a primer on Athena?
Yeah, so I was about to call it a stable coin. We'll get to why that's funny in a bit. But so Athena basically is a coin, a yield-bearing token that captures delta neutral yield. And the way they're able to offer really high yield right now is because in a bull market, everybody is longing Ethereum. So the funding rates that you pay on those trades just along Ethereum average out to something around 25 to 30% right now, annualized, which is obviously a dynamic rate. But what these guys are doing is basically buying spot Ethereum, staking it for about 4% yield a year, and then they are shorting Ethereum on the other side. So they collect those funding rates, which again is about 25 to 30%. And in doing so, they theoretically, whichever way Ethereum price moves, they should not actually lose or make anything on the actual coin. And then they add up the yield from the two sides. So again, the 3 to 4% from staking and 25 to 30% from funding rates. Now, this results like right now in about 25% yield annualized for what is basically a stable coin. Um, if that sounds crazy to you, like it is kind of crazy, but it does actually work for the time being. Now, the off switch happens when Ethereum price starts going down again and funding rates aren't this high. Eventually, the yield drops to zero, and then kind of the whole flywheel stops. But for the time being, while things are pumping, like I think this is really cool, and I could see it blowing up hugely. With that said, I'm not participating for now because I just don't know where the market's going yet. Like I'm more than happy to just buy ETH myself and chill. But yeah, that's kind of my 2 cents on it. I think it's cool for the time being. It's the type of flywheel that when things are going up, like it's going to really go up. But the same is true on the way down. So that's kind of how I'm. Oh, sorry, and the stablecoin thing that I mentioned. So the token itself, I believe, is pegged to a dollar, right, Chris? Am I getting
That's
that
my
wrong?
understanding.
It's called USDE. It's pegged to a dollar, and yet it is not a stablecoin, apparently. It has certainly been branded this way. I think the reason that the team is kind of switching up on that right now is because, again, as we mentioned, like when things go down, you might actually not have your tokens equal to a dollar. So they can't call it a stable coin, but they've certainly branded it that way. And I know a lot of my friends were looking at it that way. So that part is kind of scary to me, honestly. Like
Right.
people just not understanding the risks involved. Granted, again, if things keep going up for the next year, it's fine. But if they don't, it's not fine. So yeah, we'll see what happens
And
with that.
actually, real quick, so how does do they have an insurance fund or something on the way down? Is
Yeah,
that how it
so they
works?
have. I don't know if they allocate revenue to the insurance fund, but they tweeted out yesterday they have a $10 million insurance fund for the way down, which when you're talking
That seems
stablecoin
too
volumes
low.
is like nothing. Yeah.
Right. Okay. I was like, that seems like a little light.
I mean, they
Um,
probably already have tens of millions, if not more, in market cap on their stablecoin. So
yeah, the
it's
TVL is
not a
already
lot.
300, 350.
Yeah, exactly. So 10 million is not going to help you very much.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, I don't know. This definitely feels like the kind of thing. Like people were talking about Eigenlayer being like a potential black swan. Like this feels like a potential black swan right from the get-go to me. We'll
Yeah.
see. Like in
Totally.
theory, the concept is really cool though. I'll admit that. I think the idea of capturing really high yield with a delta neutral strategy is like awesome. I'm just
Totally.
not sure if this is the correct token choice, I guess, to
Totally.
put it.
No, yeah. I mean, I like this idea of like an internet native dollar, right? That's not pegged. And if you read the docs, it's a lot of commentary about how the current stablecoin situation at the end of the day is still very centralized, right? Stablecoins, that the
Yep.
belief is that stablecoins are sort of like the backbone of DeFi and crypto in many ways, which I think is true. And unfortunately, the stablecoin at even today, right? Like Circle is very centralized, right? And they sort of use the idea or use the example of SVB and the bank with and the bank run SVB causing USDC to depeg, right? Because if you can't ultimately access what's underneath, it could be dangerous, right? And same with Tether. They said, look, the truth is we still don't know what's backed by Tether. Tether is just chatting and like it's fine and it's gonna but like the truth is we don't know what's going on there either. And so the idea of creating an internet native or a crypto native stable coin that's based on crypto assets and fully decentralized is pretty cool. I mean, I think it makes total sense to me. I think it's a very interesting idea. I think the yields are an incredible way to get everyone excited about it, especially the timing of it right now. Because at the end of the day, most people are just going to see a 27% yield. That's just
Yep.
the reality. They're going to see, oh, it's a 27% yield stablecoin, so I'll just hold a bunch of money here and I'll get 27%. And we've seen that movie before, in different
Yep.
ways. So I don't want to draw that comparison because I don't think
Yep.
it's the same thing.
Agreed.
Um,
Yep. Agreed.
and I think it's too easy to just point to that. Oh, it's the same thing as these other ones that have gone. It's not the same thing at all. And so I think the mechanism is quite clever. I think the timing is great. They clearly have, just looking at the announcement, they've got a bunch of great folks here, right? A Dragonfly and of course Crypto Hayes here, and a bunch of the other token, or the like, even folks like Franklin Templeton and Brevin Howard and all of that, right? So a bunch of great people here, a bunch of great angels as well, and all of that. So I think super interesting, and I think, like you said, it's going to. I think it's the underpinning, or another idea around like this cycle, around like ETH yield is going to be a kind of a centerpiece of a lot of the activity that's happening. We already see, like with Eigenlayer, right, is a big deal, right, with LSTs and like all of that, and then plus this, the idea of building products around ETH yield, so it becomes a native thing, right? Blast is a similar idea, to be honest, right? You're taking these native yields and allowing people to make money and earn yields by doing nothing, right? That's kind of is sort of the theme of a lot of the products here. And I think applying this to a stable, or applying this to however they want to call it, is super clever. I like it a lot. I think it's pretty bullish, to be honest. And look, I like it. I think it's pretty exciting, and I think it's going to work. Now, like you said, on the other end, we'll see, right? I mean, the FUD was basically this, which is what you said, right? That when things go down, right, that funding rate is going to go the other way, and that yield is not only going to dry up, the token may depeg and cause a death loop, and go the wrong way very quickly. If that's the case, this $10 million insurance fund is not nearly enough, for
Yeah.
obvious
Well,
reasons.
not to mention like all the counterparty risk you're introducing yourself to. It's protocol risk on Athena's side. It's
Yep.
exchange risk wherever they're buying spot ETH, and it's exchange risk wherever they're shorting ETH. So
Yep.
I don't know. There's just like a lot of weakness points that make me nervous. With that
Yes.
said, like I think it's gonna get a lot bigger before anything bad happens, if anything bad happens.
Totally.
Um,
I
but yeah,
agree. I agree. And Tom Schmidt of Dragonfly, one of their investors, put out this big tweet today, kind of talking about some of the FUD and their comments against them. And I think it's largely, I mean, I agree. I largely agree with the points here, right? But I would say that some of these things are a little bit, in my opinion, a little bit not totally, not totally, a little bit like marketing.
disingenuous.
Yeah, a little bit
Yeah,
disingenuous. I'd say, like, it's not, it's like definitely, like, sure, do they use the word stablecoin? No, but everything else is marketed as a stablecoin. you know this is fine, but it's delta neutral, sure, to a degree, right, for now, but that can
yeah,
change too. So, like, again, I think they're right to react negatively to the FUD, because I think people are mid curving it a little bit. But I think
yeah.
there are real points that would there are real points of concern that you should, like, at least just be aware of, and I think that's really it. Um,
Agreed.
but otherwise, it's captured a lot of attention. It's been super hype. I think it's a cool project, and I've definitely chucked some money in as well, of course. And so we will see where it goes. But it's very cool stuff. Speaking of native
Yeah,
yield, though, and like where we're going,
native
we can
yield.
transition to Will's favorite topic, the daddy of native yield, Blast.
Blast finally launching in a week. I guess the official date hasn't been announced. I've heard it's the 28th. We'll see if that's the case, but it is happening within a week from now. We got $1.84 billion in liquidity locked up in that contract right now, which is all unlocking on the launch date, a
Is that
week from
right?
now.
I thought it was
Yep.
in April. Did I remember that wrong?
So the airdrop itself for like stakers is in May, but the you can withdraw at any point once the mainnet is live.
Got it. Got it.
So
Got it.
yeah, so $1.8 billion of liquidity is going to be unlocked. Granted, I'm sure that the Blast team has some other Ponzi mechanic to make people keep their ETH in, but we've got literally thousands of projects that are launching on Blast on theoretically, they're all saying on launch day. We'll see how that goes with network processing and congestion. But this is going to be, I mean, the biggest launch of the year. I think I will go on record saying that now. Um, I've been bullish Blast like since it came out. I've been staking forever. Um, but with that said, like One, I don't think it's too late to stake now. Even though you obviously won't get as many points for the Blast airdrop. We already have, I think, 5 projects that I know of and have claimed already that are doing airdrops for Blast stakers just because they're launching on Blast, and you may as well. That's going to be a big trend. I expect like literally maybe hundreds of airdrops for staking Blast. So if you think it's too late, especially with the fact that you'll be able to withdraw in a week from now, so it's really like not that big a risk. And actually, by the time this podcast goes live, I'm sure it'll be even closer. Um, I think it's pretty low risk, and you stand to gain quite a bit from whatever airdrops you. So, yeah. Anyway, super excited for Blast. I've been waiting for this for months now. Um, I guess we could
Totally.
highlight some of the cool projects that are launching. So one
Yeah,
of them
totally.
is Blaster Swap, which is one of the ones that is it's like I don't know, their primary decks, I guess. That's if you staked the Blast, you can go on their site right now and claim your pre-airdrop. So we've got all the normal lending books, dexes, couple casinos and stuff. One that we've talked about is Juice. Which just to disclose, I was a seed investor in their company, I guess. But it's like super cool tech, and in the midst of this points meta, I'm actually really excited about the product they're shipping. Where, yeah, here it is. And they're also integrating with a lot of partners. But basically, the idea is you can go on Juice, you can put your Ethan, and from Juice, you have one dashboard where you can direct it out to like any protocol on the chain that they partner with, and farm points for it because that's the big meta right now: points and airdrops. So yeah, so these guys are launching their first product on Blast. I don't think there's ever been anything like it, and I expect the token to do really well. So this is definitely one to keep an eye out for if you are interested in Blast.
Totally.
But yeah, I mean, point is like we've never had a chain launch with $1.8 billion of user liquidity already locked up, and that's not even counting all the funds that have signed up to LP things or all those kind of off the table agreements. Like this is gonna get really crazy.
I was gonna say ARB is one of the biggest at only 2.9, which is kind of nuts. Soul
Yeah, this
is,
thing hasn't even fucking launched yet. And to bridge, you had to lock it up until it launched. So like there's, some risk involved there. Like I fully expect this to be a top 5 chain. Not even by layer 2, it's like top 5 chain.
yeah, I can see it. I mean, I think they clearly have done an incredible job with marketing this thing, and they've clearly set the tone for a lot of crypto because the number of L2s that have come out is out of this world, right? And second,
Yep.
the number of people, the number of the amount of activity in native yield has also really gone up. Because everyone's talking about native yield. So many products that I know. I mean, we're building Plume, right? And even then, the amount of products that approach us to do native yield on Plume is also out of this world, right? So everyone's trying
Yep.
to do native yield. We saw, especially with Manta coming off the back of Blast, that even I don't know how to say it. Like even something like Manta could do well, right?
Yep.
Compared to Blast, which is clearly like the originator of a lot of this stuff, and so I think it's created a lot of activity. So clearly, look, there's a first mover advantage in the just a sense of like they've captured a lot of the mind share, they have a lot of the attention, the activity, they have a fuck ton of projects building on them right now. And like you said, I think it'll be a really easy way to keep your like earn the Blast airdrop for one, and then two, also make sure that you are getting airdrops from all of these different products launching on Blast. Now the question in my head is always going to be like I'm mega bullish on it. So just to be clear, two questions in my head. One is a lot of this money is the DeFi money, right? And it's hot ball of money type stuff, right?
Yep.
Which
Yep.
means it goes fast, it comes fast, and it goes fast, And so that's one question I have, and I think they've been clever about it with, like you said, when you have so many different products coming on here, and clearly a very hype team, that there should be enough happening on the chain to keep you there for a while and juice rewards with airdrops and all kinds of stuff, right? So I've done a clever job with that. On the other side of it is also, with the amount of stuff that's coming out that's related to this, does it fragment the idea a little bit and sort of pull things in other directions? I don't think so. I think it will a little bit, but not anywhere. It won't be noticeable in my opinion, and we'll probably still stick with Blast. But I think it is a thing to consider, at least of like, you know, because these ideas that they have are not there's no like real moat to them, right? They're
Yep.
outside of the brand, right? Like people can rip them quickly. Now the truth is liquidity is a moat, right? And users are a moat, and so like that's a thing, and so in theory people could stay, but like as a new area to play with, right? Because I think of each chain as like a different country, right? If you think about this like as a new city or a new country to play in, they're certainly coming with like lots of money and a lot of new things to do here, all of which seem fun and ability to make money on them. So usually that's the mark of good stuff. So I'm bullish. I think it'll be a lot of fun, and it'll be a good time for a while. And it should just bring in like this like when you're in the bull run, there's always this like degenerate on chain activity, where people are just like, and there's just like you hear crazy story after crazy story about like what's happening or what yield or what protocol is doing this, and like clearly Blast has already set the tone about what people can do,
Yep.
which what you should only have to imagine the projects that they're approving and the projects that are coming out have a similar feel to them, right? It's just going to be
Yep.
max retard stuff, which is going to be hilarious and it's going to be great for everybody. So it
Yeah,
should
I
be
mean,
very
I
cool.
know I know a bunch of teams who applied to the competition. So for anybody who doesn't know, Blast is doing this big Blast competition for any project launching on it where you submit your quick video clip and description and they pick a winner. I know a lot of teams that have submitted stuff and they have been really really strict. So if you're looking for like a good list of projects to, I mean, if 3,300 is too many projects for you to look through, which it certainly is for me, just look through the Blast competition page or their tweets about it or whatever, because they are screening really strictly. Yeah, I mean, everything that they've even allowed into the competition looks great. So I'm super excited. And I would also point on like the kind of mercenary liquidity comes fast, leaves fast thing. Like NFTs is almost like the paragon of liquidity coming fast and leaving fast. And Pac-Man, who's also the founder of Blast, but he launched Blur, and like, I mean, we can look at market share charts if we need to, but like, they still own 80%, I think, of the NFT market over a year and a half or something after launch. Um, so, I mean, look, if I'm betting on somebody to keep a Ponzi running, like it's Pac-Man and his team of VCs that he's got on board. So I'm pretty, I guess I could say hopefully bullish that this
Yeah.
is going to work
I mean,
out how I'm planning.
this chart says it all.
Yep.
OpenSea is this blue, this market share. So OpenShare owns 80% of the market share at this
I mean,
point,
their
or
shares
87%.
literally almost never dipped since launch,
And then
which
since
is
October,
crazy.
Blur went from zero to now owning 73% of the market, OpenSea down to 20, and everyone's still negligible. So it's just been crazy. I think you're right. They've done a good job with it. Um, Now, this is percentage based, right?
Yep.
But I think a shrinking pie. Yeah, there you go.
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
Definitely a smaller pie, but still of the remaining volume, they've taken it for sure. Because the retail traders are gone. Anyone still trading NFTs is, the people that are
Yep.
doing it. And he built Blur specifically to be the more power user version of Blur. But I think I agree with you. Ultimately they build good products. They capture attention. People like them. They're very CT native, and they're built for the power user. And most of crypto is that today. So um, we'll see where it goes. But yeah, it's definitely going to be really exciting. Um, So maybe turning the table on things that are exciting but have maybe gone the wrong way. And maybe let's start with, I think the other side of Athena was a token last week that came out called Starknet. And maybe to give you a bit of a preview about where we're going with this, this is the chart so far for Starknet. But maybe Will, do you want to give a little bit of context and a bit of a primer on Starknet?
Yeah. So, I like, you don't even really need to know what Starknet is. I think it's like another fast, efficient, cheap layer one is the moral of the story there. They have been around forever. I mean, I think I remember them being around like 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, and they've raised a tremendous amount of money.
Ton of money. anyway, they finally did their token airdrop and token launch, obviously, this week, which people have been farming for literally years now. So there was a lot riding on this, a lot of people who put a lot of time and financial resources into farming this thing, and they just totally fucked everybody.
Yeah.
They implemented like there was a couple just
uh,
really odd mechanics. So one of these was if you had less than, I think it was 0.005 ETH or something in your
yes.
wallet, you were not counted in the airdrop, which I mean, I
Including
do this all
lots
the
of people who
time.
had been in the community contributing for
Oh,
a
that have
while
done
and
like
doing a bunch of
millions in
stuff.
volume. Yeah, people who've done literally millions in volume got nothing because they started using a different wallet. So that was like kind of the one of the big ones as far as the actual drop. My biggest sticking point was in this weird little tokenomics mechanic they had where so I think it was about 2 years ago, they launched a non-tradable version of their token. And I think they only gave it to like apps and maybe investors or something. Like it wasn't a full airdrop because again, it was not tradable. Um, they have now finally launched the token like fully and with trading, and they are now claiming that the vesting schedule for team and investors tokens started at the 2 year mark when they launched the locked tokens, which again have not been tradable until now. Like it's
uh,
just so yeah. So what that means is the vesting schedule originally was something like 2.5 year vest or cliff or something. Now investors are getting their share fully vested in 3 months from now, which is 3 months after launch. Like that's unheard of. Usually it's at least like a year cliff with a long tail vesting schedule. Yeah, I don't know. That's just like that's such bullshit to me. I mean, they knew what they were doing.
100%. There's no way they
You already
didn't.
know every VC in the world is like looking at each other like, holy shit, we can do that. Like,
Talking about same thing as Blast on the other end of the innovation curve. It's like Blast a lot
yeah.
of things people we're just going to do this, but just completely wreck the normal way people are doing
Yeah, I
tokenomics.
mean, look, like I don't like people who Sybil farm airdrops as much as the next guy, but like to literally just fuck everybody over in with the goal of like discluding those people just doesn't make any sense. Not to mention all the there were clear like insider wallet clusters who knew all the exact points to get and everything that took home millions.
Yep.
I saw two big wallet clusters of like 1,000 plus that each took home a couple million.
Yep.
They farmed it perfectly, which is always suspicious.
Pretty
But yeah,
crazy investment
basically
list.
like everything they could have done wrong, they did wrong, I think.
And I think in my opinion, to add insult to injury, right? One is you fuck your community over because I think, again, like the way they distribute the tokens is incredibly strange. The whole point is like you either are. There's really two ways, right? The whole point of decentralization is like you're either early with money and you kind of help them by investing or providing liquidity or whatever, right? You're contributing to the community and your value is dollars, right? And so that's one way you should be rewarded. On the other end, a lot of people that don't have the money or the access, a lot of people contribute just to helping out, right? Doing things in docs, right? Creating content or whatever it is. And those people absolutely should be rewarded for their work. And so simple things like, not including folks who don't have 0.005 ETH. It's just a ridiculous way to like price things out. Um,
Well, like all these people LPing too, who just use their whole balance to LP it. Like again, it's a very cheap chain, so it's not like you need to save a ton of gas fees. Like they just, yeah, I don't know what they were thinking.
Totally, totally, and not to mention like a lot of the holders were a lot of the like old ETH whales too, right? So they gave a lot of tokens to basically I think it was Gavin, maybe not. I can't remember who actually, but it was like a lot of the core founders of like Ethereum back in the day, which is like again
Yep.
cool because but like those guys are already super rich for one, so it's just not a very good look. And I can see that the CEO went on I forget which podcast, Unchained, I forget which one. He went up to some podcast and was kind of explaining the decision making, the rationale behind it. And I think he just did an absolute shit job of explaining why he was doing it, and just explaining the rationale and like, look, if the community is pissed, you don't have to backtrack and say we're going to do a bunch of stuff. Like you don't have to do that either. But there's a way to handle it and a way to talk about it that allows people to understand that you that allows people to realize that you do understand, and that like it may not be in the ideal case. These things are hard. It's easy to shit on them, but like there's a way to handle it that is understanding and makes the community feel heard, that you're going to help them. And another one's like, yeah, you know what, fuck off, like we're doing this, we're actually like very smart, we're geniuses here, and at the end of the day, like you can't tell me what to do, and that's kind of what it was. And they had one funny quote I thought was, Laura kept asking him, like, so you've like made a comment saying you and the team are not dumping, is that right? And he was like, no, we've never said that. And she's like, no, here's an article where you literally said that. And he's like, well, I can't speak for any of the team or myself, So I was like, okay, got it, So
I'm not
I,
responsible for my own dumping
yeah,
actions.
a mistake happened in a wallet that I controlled,
Hey,
So
it happens.
so just hilarious stuff. I mean, just absolute grift. And like, again, if you're going to grift, you just at least it's got to be fun. Pretending you don't know what you're doing is kind of ridiculous. But anyway, the other side of tokens that have like hype launch, but we'll see so far is another one called Mavia. We talked about this a little bit ago. And let's see here. We did a review on Beluga here of the game itself. And maybe Will. I mean, I know you put a lot of work into it and then play the game. Curious if what you're thinking, or what's your commentary on Mavia.
Yeah, yeah. I bought the land NFTs a while ago. I guess not too long ago, 2 or 3 months ago, for the token airdrop. I ended up selling before the token dropped, so I didn't actually get any of the token. Yeah, my kind of overall take on Mavia is I was a big Clash of Clans player. It is basically the same game. Um, so did I enjoy it? Like, yeah, but again, it was basically the same game. Um, the other kind of sticking point for me is, as it stands, there is literally no blockchain integration into the game. I talked to the team, and I know that stuff is coming down the line. But I don't think that the Mavia token like has any place in that. It's just a kind of governance token. So yeah, well, I don't know. Not to be too mean, like I don't think the Mavia token is really worth anything. I think the game itself is cool and like might be successful. Mavia token maybe not so much. But with all of that said, like damn, has this price action been good until now? Um, I think we tapped something like $2.3 billion FTV, which is like really impressive. And it's on the iOS store. Like I can't shit on them too much, but it to me this looks pretty toppy. I don't really expect to see new all-time highs, especially knowing the emission schedule is like heavily ramping up in I think a month or two from now. So yeah, I don't know. Looks toppy to me, price action wise. I certainly am not buying.
Yeah, me either. But to their
Rough,
credit,
rough, rough come down from the $10. I will say it's
yes.
been swift and rapid.
And it was a lot of hype on the internet about
Mm.
this token, a lot of talk, a lot more than I would have realized, to be honest. And so, to their credit, I should have bought a little bit earlier and wrote it up. But you know, 2 billion FTV is pretty nuts, and it seems like commentary has not gone the right way after. So we'll see. I
I
think
mean, there are
people
just so many GameFi projects launching right now. Like the Pixels one just launched and went to I think 2 billion as well. Like it's just hard to keep attention right now.
totally, totally. Um, Yeah, and so there's been a lot going on this week. I mean, maybe to wrap this thing up, a couple things we can just kind of mention our clown of the week here, and our joker of the week, and kind of the taking an L right now. Do Kwon, who formerly of Terra fame, right, and so built Terra and Anchor and on the Cosmos blockchain, and built Luna, the again the stable coin that had a 20% yield on it that ultimately depegged and went to zero, eviscerating a lot of Korean people's wealth, and including part of my bag as well. But he was hiding out in Montenegro a couple months ago. Has been on the run since. But not too afraid to dial into podcasts and talk about what was going on. If you haven't seen it, there's a Kobe podcast on Up Only where it's Martin Shkreli, I think it's Kobe and a couple folks on there talking about what's going on, and Do Kwon joins. And Shkreli tells him that prison's not too bad. Don't worry
Wasn't
about it.
SBF also on that one?
Yeah, I think it was.
Briefly?
I couldn't remember if it was
Yeah.
SBF or it was Sue. But yeah, exactly. He was on there. Do joins, and then kind of doesn't say too much, but gets out of there. Months later, he's found in Montenegro hiding out. He gets caught with a fake passport. I think I can't really remember.
Yeah,
what it
trying to
was,
fly
but
out.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And unfortunately, it seems like he was trying to go back to South Korea. He was not allowed to, and unfortunately, probably in the worst case scenario for criminals, is now coming to the U.S. And so people don't know this, but Do was actually a Stanford grad. Back in the
I did
day.
not know that.
Yeah, Stanford grad before going back to Asia to do Terra, or first doing basis, I think, and then doing Terra. But yeah, not very good for him. But the nice thing is it does probably put a cap on the whole thing. I think we've largely forgotten about this already, to be honest, which has been great. But it does put a nice end. And it's kind of hilarious. And so, yeah, that is poor guy. But anyway, that's it for the
You
week.
know what? To wrap up, can we pull up the SBF jail picture really quick?
Oh,
Have you
fuck,
seen
that's
this?
a good one. Yes.
I totally forgot about it.
I did too. Hold on.
Yeah, here it is. He is
Oh
not
God.
looking good. He does not look good at all.
No, not
So this
at
is
all.
this is
Jesus
SBF with his
Christ.
new prison friends. I know at least the one without the black thing on his face is a member of the Bloods. So
Is that
I
right?
honestly wouldn't be surprised to see SBF like literally running one of the gangs soon, if he isn't already. I heard he was like flipping mackerel
Oh, here he is.
as a trade. So yeah,
Good
there
for
he
him,
is.
Gotta stay
G-Lock.
sharp. And I was told also, someone was like, this is who you're trading against in 2025. So just look at the release dates. And,
The new
oh God.
Alameda.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man. Fucking nuts, dude. What a week. It's been a lot. A
What a
bunch of
week.
really cool stuff happening. Um, a bunch of crazy shit as always, but it does feel like we're in a good time of the year again. I think people are hyped about crypto. Things are back in a positive sentiment. Things are going up, and a bunch of new stuff coming out. I think that's the exciting thing. Like just like new things that are actually interesting happening, that are coming out that should really you know, not only just like spark a new bull run, which I think we're all kind of in the midst of, but also just give us new things and allow. I think that's the magic of crypto, right? Like people just building random shit because it's open, it's permissionless, and then new fun things come out of it that are interesting. And some will work, some won't. But at the end of the day, it is interesting to watch, and more importantly, it is definitely fun to trade. And so thanks for stopping by on the Beluga Pod with me and Will, and we will catch y'all next week.
Later.